Most people think you can spot a psychopath by what they do, but the real giveaway hides in what they say. Five simple phrases that sound normal until you realize what they really mean. Forensic psychologists have found five common phrases that quietly reveal a total lack of empathy or accountability. They sound normal until you hear the pattern. Once you learn these phrases, you'll never hear them the same way again. And if you've been hearing them for months or years, this might finally explain why you feel so drained, confused, or isolated. Phrase 1. That's just how I am. It sounds like confidence, even self-awareness, but it's actually a refusal to take responsibility. Psychopaths use this to shut down accountability conversations while positioning their harmful behaviors as unchangeable personality traits. Here's what makes this particularly devastating. They often say this after years of you trying to help them change. One viewer shared that their partner's psychopathic friend has used this exact phrase for 14 years, leaving both the partner and the relationship damaged. The phrase becomes a wall that stops all growth, all compromise, all hope for improvement. Normal people say, I can work on that, or help me understand how to do better. Psychopaths say, deal with it. When someone has been saying, that's just how I am for years while their behavior continues hurting you, they're not being authentic. They're being manipulative. Phrase 2. You're too sensitive. This sounds like feedback, but it's emotional reversal. It shifts blame from their cruelty to your reaction. They exploit your desire to be reasonable, making you question your own emotional responses instead of focusing on their harmful behavior. This phrase is particularly insidious because it works. After hearing it repeatedly, you start believing it. You stop trusting your own reactions. And here's the cruel irony. When you finally try to tell others about the abuse, you sound uncertain, confused, or overly emotional. Exactly what the psychopath trained you to become. This is why so many victims report that nobody believes them. The psychopath appears calm and reasonable while you appear unstable. But that's not accident, that's strategy. Healthy people say, I didn't mean to hurt you, or help me understand why this upset you. Psychopaths say, you're the problem. Phrase 3. I was just being honest. They use this to justify cruelty and call it integrity. This is weaponized truth. Honesty without empathy. Real honesty helps you grow. Psychopathic honesty cuts deep, then calls the wound truth. This phrase becomes especially dangerous in workplace settings. Psychopathic bosses use brutal honesty to humiliate employees while maintaining plausible deniability. They'll destroy your confidence in a meeting, then claim they were just giving feedback. One viewer described working for a filthy rich psychopathic narcissist who operates like an adult 2-year-old bully. The power dynamic makes escape difficult. You need the job, so you endure the abuse. Meanwhile, they frame their cruelty as leadership, their sadism as standards. Healthy people preface difficult truths with care. This might be hard to hear, but I care about you. If your boss never shows concern for the emotional impact of their honesty, you're not dealing with tough love, you're dealing with workplace abuse. Phrase 4. Everyone does it. This is projection. The assumption that everyone is as unethical as they are. It's moral flattening. They use this to normalize behaviors that most people would consider wrong. Family psychopaths use this phrase to devastating effect. They'll lie, manipulate, or exploit family members, then claim all families have drama or everyone has problems. One viewer described being raised by a narcissistic psychopath who normalized extreme abuse by claiming it was typical parenting. The family context makes this particularly painful because you can't easily cut contact. Holiday gatherings become minefields. Family loyalty becomes a weapon they use against you. They count on the fact that family members will make excuses, keep secrets, and maintain appearances. But healthy people feel guilt when they do wrong. Psychopaths only feel annoyed when they get caught. Phrase 5. You made me do it. This one reveals everything. It's total responsibility transfer. They want you to believe your actions caused their behavior, but no one can make another person lie, cheat, or hurt others. This phrase often appears in long-term relationships where the victim has been gradually worn down. After years of being blamed for the psychopath's behavior, you start believing you really are the cause. You walk on eggshells, constantly monitoring your actions to avoid making them react badly. One viewer described 13 years with a psychopathic ex who still uses the same manipulation tactics. The phrase, you made me do it, becomes a prison sentence where you're both the prisoner and the guard. You police your own behavior while they take no responsibility for theirs. A healthy person says, "Oh, I chose wrong," or "My response was inappropriate." A psychopath says, "Look what you made me do." What many people don't realize is that psychopathic abuse creates ripple effects. Partners, children, and friends of victims also suffer. One viewer shared how their partner's 14-year friendship with a psychopath has caused them psychological damage too. This is called secondary trauma. You watch someone you love being manipulated, drained, and controlled. You see the changes in their personality, their confidence, their joy. You try to help, but the psychopath has convinced your loved one that you're the problem, that you're jealous or controlling. The psychopath often targets your relationship directly. They'll create crises that demand attention, schedule events that conflict with your plans, or simply monopolize your partner's emotional energy. They understand that isolated victims are easier to control, so they systematically destroy the victim's other relationships. Here's one of the cruelest aspects of psychopathic abuse. It makes you question your own sanity and morality. After months or years of gaslighting, many victims start wondering if they're the psychopath. This self-doubt is actually a sign of empathy. Psychopaths don't worry about being psychopaths. One viewer with borderline personality disorder shared their struggle with entering psychopathic states due to childhood trauma. The key difference: they recognize it, feel bad about it, and work to change it. True psychopaths don't have this self-awareness or desire for growth. If you're watching this video worried that you might be the problem, that concern itself suggests you're not. Psychopaths don't seek out videos about recognizing psychopathic behavior. They seek out videos about manipulation techniques. If you hear these phrases consistently, here's how research suggests you can respond. But first, assess your safety and power dynamics. Responses that work with peers might be dangerous with bosses, family members, or others who have power over you. For "That's just how I am," respond with "Then this isn't working for me." In workplace settings, document this conversation. In family settings, consider limiting contact. For "You're too sensitive," I'd respond with "My emotions are valid." But recognize this might escalate their behavior. Have an exit strategy. For "I was just being honest," respond with "Honesty doesn't require cruelty." In institutional settings like churches or organizations, consider reporting to higher authorities. For "Everyone does it," respond with "I don't." This draws a clear moral line, but be prepared for them to escalate their manipulation. For "You made me do it," respond with "You chose to." This is often the most dangerous phrase because it appears during or after abusive incidents. Prioritize your safety over being right. Recovery from psychopathic abuse is possible, but it's not quick or easy. Many survivors report it takes years to rebuild their sense of reality, their confidence, and their ability to trust others. This isn't weakness, it's the natural result of systematic psychological manipulation. One viewer shared their relief when their psychopathic ex finally died, describing it as "a great weight lifted off my shoulders." Their adult son wanted to throw a party. This isn't callousness, it's the recognition that some people cause so much damage that their absence brings peace. The gray rock method, becoming boring and unresponsive, can work for escape, but it's not a long-term solution for healing. Professional therapy, support groups, and education about manipulation tactics are crucial for full recovery. Remember, the fact that you survived psychopathic abuse demonstrates incredible strength. You endured systematic attempts to destroy your reality, your relationships, and your sense of self. That you're still here, still seeking understanding, still capable of caring about others, that's remarkable resilience. Now, before we wrap up, this content is based on psychological research from experts like Dr. Robert Hare at the University of British Columbia and studies from Harvard Medical School. This is educational content designed to help you recognize patterns, not to diagnose anyone. The behaviors I've described may indicate psychopathic traits, but only licensed professionals can make clinical assessments. If you're experiencing abuse, please reach out for help, seek out crisis resources in your local area, or get professional help and support. Remember, recognizing these patterns is the first step to protecting yourself. Language doesn't lie, people do. So when someone shows you who they are through their words, believe them. Trust what you hear. And remember, you deserve relationships built on respect, empathy, and genuine care.